Hey everybody, I want to do a little video. It's kind of the in vogue video right now to do. There's a couple people that have done them recently, one of which being Syntax77. If you are not subscribed to his channel, I don't know how anybody would catch my video if they're not subscribed to his channel, and his would probably be the first one to pop up. But if for some reason you are not subscribed to his channel, subscribe to it. He's amazing. His videos are awesome. His solo White Mountains video is probably my favorite overall hiking video that I've seen in terms of hammock and hiking and stuff. So it's an epic hike that he goes on. So if you're not subscribed, somehow subscribe to his channel. And him and I think Mikey talk about Cuben Fiber. Should you purchase it? Is it worth it? I think they mostly just talk about rain flies and tarps. I think that's all they talk about, and that's all I'm going to talk about. So I've got a couple here. So I've got a Hammockgear Cuben Hex tarp, and I have a Warbonnet Thunderfly, which I just got. This is Sil Poly, so I'm only going to be talking about Sil Poly. There's another material like membrane, I think it's called. I think those are both pretty similar, but that would be, in my opinion, it's a new, exciting material that's on the market. And it's the most comparable in terms of materials that are being widely used to compare to Cuben Fiber. Easy way to look at it, Cuben Fiber is going to be half the weight pretty much of Sil Poly, and it's going to be double the price. So that's going to be part of the question. And I'm going to go over some of the features, benefits of each, and what I like and what I don't like, and kind of my conclusion of whether it's worth it or not. And that conclusion is going to be based on some stuff. So with Cuben Fiber, it's been on the market for a while. It's kind of one of those exotic materials, I guess you'd say. It's expensive. It's weird. It's really weird. It's this. It kind of looks like this. You can get some colors, but it's a, sorry, my camera is in a weird position. So it's a material that is pretty much, it doesn't stretch, and it's quote-unquote waterproof. Nothing really is 100% waterproof, so you're never going to get water in here unless you have a tear or something. You won't get water going through it, but the way to think about it, I guess the best way I would explain it, is if you took a bag that was an infinite size made out of Cuben Fiber and you started to pour water in it, you're eventually going to get to a certain weight to where that water is going to start going through the Cuben Fiber. And with Cuben Fiber, that's a very, very, very large amount of water that it would take to actually start going through the fibers. So in any kind of normal use that you would have ever, as long as you don't have a hole in Cuben Fiber, there's no way that water is going to come through it. One of the other advantages of Cuben Fiber is it's that way on both sides, so water dripping on it is never going to really permeate into the material. So what's great about Cuben is that you can set up Cuben Fiber, and if you set your tarp up taut, it's going to stay taut. It's going to stay really stretched and flat, which is great for not only shedding water, but also shedding wind and not flapping and stuff like that. But you also are not going to get water going into the tarp, so the weight of the tarp, other than some bits of water that are left on the tarp, when you pack it up, it's not going to collect any weight. So for through hiking, this is wonderful because regardless of the weather, this isn't going to weigh more by you being in rain. One of the big problems with some of the older materials, like Sil Nylon, is Sil Nylon water would soak into it, and it also, so that would, it would cause more weight, and it would also cause the material to stretch, and that material would just stretch in and of its own nature also. But when it would get water into it, it would stretch even more. And so you could have a, and I've had this happen to me, you could have a Sil Nylon tarp and set it up, and let's say that it weighs 20 ounces or 30 ounces or whatever. This, by the way, is 6 ounces. Crazy without the cordage and everything else. But you set up your Sil Nylon tarp. Let's say that you're going for 2 or 3 days, and you get into camp, you eat your food. Yeah, I've lost some weight from eating my food. Well, you set up your Sil Nylon tarp, and it rains really heavily. when you go to pack that up, and I don't know the specifics of how much it seems like it would weigh like 3 or 4 times more sometimes, because it would soak in so much water, depending on the specific sil nylon and how much it rains. So that material is really not good for anything other than stopping rain, and you certainly don't want to have to suddenly carry way more weight that's soaking wet, that's dripping, so I never was a fan of sil nylon, and I'm really happy that this new material, sil poly's on the market. So with Cuben Fiber, those are some real benefits of this, and those have been some of the real selling points other than the weight. The real selling points are that it doesn't stretch and that it doesn't take on extra water weight. Now, with the sil poly, keep in mind it's about double the weight, half the price. Sil poly also doesn't really stretch. Now, I would say, obviously, like Cuben Fiber, depending on what it is, it has crazy break strength or stretch strength. I mean, you can take 2 grown guys and pull on Cuben Fiber, and it doesn't stretch. So it's really, really, really strong. And I would question this having that same stretch strength. It probably stretches a little bit, but maybe not detectable on normal setup just with wires. And one of the nice things about Warbonnet is they do, on their ridge line on the top, they run some gross grain, and that's just more extra material there to stop it from stretching. And also with this, it doesn't really, from what I can tell, retain water like sil nylon does. So the sil poly, the water just runs off of it, and it's a very thin material. So I think they're pretty comparable in a lot of ways. So some of my ideas with this, with the sil poly, and some people laugh about these little weird intricacies with Cuben Fiber, and I'll kind of get into a little bit of this. If you are through hiking, Cuben Fiber makes sense. You want to save every ounce you can. You don't want any risk of carrying extra weight like water soaking into it. And this is really perfect for that. I would argue that I don't like how much light comes through this. So if I'm going out on an overnight trip, I'm kind of like Shug in the way that sometimes I want to sleep 12 hours. I want to go out into the woods. I want to be lazy. I'm not hiking super far, and I need a day just to escape life and the hustle and bustle and people. And I want to climb into my hammock at 9 at night, and I want to sleep until 9 or 10, and with the Cuben Fiber, depending on when it is and stuff, it can be really, a lot of light can come through it. And also, when it's really hot, sometimes you get a little bit warmer under the Cuben Fiber if it's hot and muggy, from my experience. I don't want to say it has a greenhouse effect. Some people say it's got the greenhouse effect. But for me, it can be a little bit warmer. One of the other things about the Cuben Fiber is that, another thing that a lot of people are going to say, that's dumb, like it's wear earplugs and stuff. For me, I don't like to wear earplugs in the woods, but I also don't like the sound of rain, how it falls in this. So earplugs hurt my ears. They never fit in correctly. They kind of fall out. They feel weird. I usually lay on my side, and just that pushing on my ear feels weird. But I also, this with a good downpour is quite a bit louder than sil nylon, sil poly. So, and it kind of bothers me. It's a little too loud for me. My hammock, if it's really rainy, I may be tucked pretty close to the tarp sometimes, especially with this, because this is a little hex tarp. So with this, I don't have a huge, vast amount of protection. So if it's really raining, you kind of got to go into storm mode, as they say, with the tarp like this. Tuck yourself up close to it. And with a tight pitch like that, you're right there, and you're hearing a lot of the sounds. So that's another kind of complaint I have. But once again, I'm going to say, if you're through hiking, this is worth it. It's worth it to have that less weight. It's worth it to have something that, you know, as long as you're not abrading it, as long as you're treating it well, there's not going to be a chance of any water getting into it. You don't have to seam seal this with like the Warbonnet. You know, you have to seam seal the pullouts. You'll see that if you order it, there will be a whole page about it, and that's kind of a pain. So there's not really a lot of worry. You know, you throw this up and you basically have a perfect waterproof barrier. And if you're through hiking, it's absolutely worth it. But for me, I like Sil Poly a lot. And I'm going to say that for me, I think Sil Poly is the most exciting material on the market, and it's the best bang for your buck. And if you're not a through hiker, and if you have any of those issues like I have, like in terms of wanting a little bit more, I'm not going to just say 100% like the light coming through, but it feels a little cozier. The material itself does physically, and the feeling of being under it, in my opinion, feels a little cozier. It feels a little warmer. It's you know, it's interesting. And half the time I've got my tarp above me in a snake skin, and I want to feel that vast openness, and you know, that's something special that I really like. Looking up at the starry sky. Some people say that they like this because you can kind of see through it. You can see the stars and the moon and stuff, but usually you can't, and usually if it's nice enough like that, unless it's super cold, you might have this up in the snake skins anyways. But sometimes you want that kind of comfort feeling, that coziness. This is a lot cozier feeling because it blocks out a lot more of the light. The other thing is you're getting most of those advantages other than the super lightweight with this. So it's not going to be super stretchy. It's not going to retain a lot of water, and it's half the price. And the durability is questionable on these two. You know, there's a lot of factors in terms of durability. I think that Cuben is more durable in some ways, but it's less durable in other ways. So when it comes to abrasion durability, there are some questions there. But I think that with either of these materials, if you're treating them well, if you're putting them up in snake skins, if you're, you know, not dragging them all over the ground, rubbing them against branches a lot and stuff like that, you are going to have two things that'll last you for a long, long, long time. There's puncture issues, stuff like that, people say with Cuben, but you know, once again, I think in general, for the average person, they're both going to be very durable. It's just going to be that question of, is it worth it to pay that extra for the weight savings and stuff? I'm going to deviate from what most people say. I'm going to say for a normal person, this isn't necessarily worth it. You know, there's some negatives and positives to both, and I'm not going to tell you, you know, what you should think in terms of those negatives and positives, because you'll all feel differently about it. But for me, I don't think for a normal backpacker and camper that price is necessarily worth it. I think the bang for the buck and what you're really getting with Sil Poly is amazing. I'm super excited about this material, and I think it's awesome. And I would say for an average person, check out Sil Poly, and you know, kind of go from there. I also like the packability of Sil Poly. I think it's a little bit easier to pack and to deal with, and so for me, I bought this after I bought my Cuben. For this particular one, it's a Thunderfly, so it's got some half doors on it, and you know, I kind of got it for that reason. I want something a little bit quieter. I want something a little bit darker, and you know, that's why I got it. So those are some of my opinions on it. I'm also going to try to record some other videos just about my experience with the cottage manufacturing industry, some of the good things, some of the bad things, and I don't know. I'll try to throw some other videos up here in terms of some of my thoughts and ideas on all this stuff. I also I hope to do a video soon of why I hammock camp, what I like about it, and just some of the weird flaws. And you know, I would say with this too, it's kind of relevant, so I'll say just a little bit of it, and not towards Syntax and not towards a lot of those guys. He hikes a lot. He goes far. Him and Mikey go far. They use Cuben. They think it's worth it, and it totally makes sense as to why they do. Those complaints that I have, they don't really have with it. They don't feel that way about it. And they need to have it as light as possible because they do a lot of mileage. So with them, they think it's 100% worth it, and I completely understand why they do. But for me, with some people, some of you, I do find that there's this weird quirk in people that you have to tell yourself the decision that you made is right. Once again, not towards syntax here, but some people have that little quirk. That's why when I feel like when you go online, you see all these people saying, is the best because I bought it and I don't want to buy another hammock and it's what I use. So you get a lot of people that get this whole idea that because I made the decision to buy something, it's the best. Now, I haven't tried everything else, so nothing that I have is the best. I don't have a best anything. I have what I've bought, and I have what I like and don't like, and what works for me, but this whole idea of the best and not the best doesn't make sense. Both of these are awesome. Both of them are very good. Both of them are worth it. It's a question of those features and benefits of each and differences in price points that should make you decide which one would work for you, or if neither of them would work for you, if a $10 blue tarp from Kmart is what you want. But there's not a best. They're both great, and pretty much if you're out in the woods and having fun and relaxing and enjoying yourself, then is there a best? I don't think so. So I'll try to maybe make a video about that and some of the weird quirkiness that I see in people in the outdoor industry and just in general. Yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you all. Hopefully I didn't say too many times. I tend to do that, and I never write anything down or script any of this, so I'm kind of bad at making videos. So see you all later, and I'm hoping soon to do a little review on this. So tomorrow night I might go out camping, I might not, but I want to get a video of this up just to show it off and show you guys what it is and get it set up, and hopefully it'll rain on me. So, all right, see ya, bye.